We'll be creating the design you see here during most of this lesson. But before we get into a layout this complex, I wanted to start by showing you a few basic CSS styles so you can get the basic idea of how CSS works. Let's start by creating a new blank file. So you want File New, blank page, HTML, no layout. Let's save this file. And you can just put it in the main Robin folder if you want. Let's call it CSS-test. And I'm not going to worry about page properties or titles or anything. This is just a chance to give you a sense to play a little bit with CSS. So I'm going to ask you to type a headline into this page. Let's start with CSS is an art and a science. And let's go ahead and format this. Remember, if it's a headline, we're always better off using the format tags and choosing a header tag. So if this is the most important thing on the page, we'll make it an H1. But as I promised in an earlier lesson, just because this is an H1 doesn't mean you have to settle for times 24 point. We can change the display of this by creating a CSS style. So if I open my CSS styles panel over here, and if you don't see it here in the right of your screen, you can always choose Window CSS and open it that way. This panel does many things, but you'll notice at the bottom it has a series of icons. And the one we want right now is the one with the little plus sign that lets us create a new CSS rule. Essentially, every time you create a new CSS style, you're really creating a CSS rule. So when I click on this little icon, I now have the option to create any one of a number of different kinds of styles. Class styles, as you'll see in a moment, can be applied to anything on the page, and they always start with a period or a dot. Tag styles, which is what we're about to create, let you redefine the look and display of an existing HTML tag. And when you choose that option, you can actually use this drop-down to find the tag. So if you don't remember whether it's head1 or h1 or exactly what the tag is, you can simply scroll down this list until you see it. Oh yeah, it's h1. We'll get to advanced styles later. But the other thing I want you to notice is that you now have the option of defining this style using a new style sheet or within this document. For now, I want you to choose this document only. That means that the new styles we're creating will be saved in this same HTML file that we're working on. If I click OK, now I get to the CSS rule definition dialog, and we'll spend lots of time in this dialog over the course of the coming lessons. But for now, I want you to simply change a few things that affect the type, the display of my text here. So for example, I can choose from any of these font collections. I'll choose Verdana. I can specify a size. In this case, I'm going to choose large. Remember, choosing small, medium, large, extra large, one of these options gives you relative sizes, so that if your user chooses a larger or a smaller text size, the display of this text will still be large relative to anything you've styled as medium or small. Let's also give this text a color. How about blue? And now, because I'm redefining an existing tag, the H1 tag, and because I've already applied that tag to my text, I can actually preview this using the Apply button before I even save it. So you can see immediately I've transformed the look of this headline simply by redefining the style for the H1 tag. When I click OK, you'll see now if I click on this little arrow that I now have an H1 style, and if I select that, you'll see that the Styles panel also displays the settings I've just made. I can stretch this down a little more. And this is a very handy way of keeping track of your styles as you create them. So let's try another one.